everyone, my name is Erica. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things art therapy and creativity. Today I have a really special guest with me today. She is my best friend and my soul twin, Lisa Hau. We actually met about 6 years ago through our ex-partners, and we have become really close ever since because of our love of art. I feel like that really bonded us together. And the reason why I have her on today, because she has this really amazing story about how art has healed her. And I think it would be really inspiring for the world to hear, because without her courage and her perseverance to overcome her shadows and everything else, she wouldn't be who she is today. She's a really amazing, talented painter and hairstylist, and she has a lot to share. So I wanted you to kind of take me back to a time when you weren't making any art and what your life was like before, because for me, I can't even imagine you not making any art because I've only known you since then, right? So
when I think back to my life before art, I was about 18, 19. I was finished high school and I wanted to go right to college. Well, I didn't want to, it was just something I felt like I had to do.
Right.
You know, you finish high school and you go right to college.
Right.
And I picked something that I thought would make my parents proud. I followed my brother's footsteps. He is super smart and he's into biochem. So I thought, you know, I'll get my bachelor,
I can't even imagine you in biochem.
Right? Not my jam at all. It was biology and education. I thought I'd be a bio teacher and that would be great. So I started taking these classes. There was just a lot of stress in my life at the time. You know, I was in a program in school that I genuinely hated. I hated chemistry and all that stuff. I had just started a new relationship with someone who was not healthy for me. Yeah, partying too much. I wasn't connecting to my family. I wasn't really connected to myself. And I hadn't been making any art. I think I had taken 2 art classes by the time I was 18 or 19. And I mean classes as in literally like a 2-hour little mini, you know, I think in grade 2, after school special, maybe with Mr. Dress Up.
So it's something that you never really like thought about, like even as a kid, you never really dreamed about.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was something we were allowed to dream about.
Right.
And I don't think in our culture and maybe in society it was never something of great importance.
Right. Science was more important.
Yeah, science, making money, math, business is also really important. And the older I got, the more business, being an entrepreneur seemed to be the it thing.
Right.
Right. And so back then, art was never something that you would do for a living, let alone even just do it for fun. Like, it's not that important at the time.
Right. So what was it like when you were feeling disconnected from yourself all these years in those times? What was it like for you?
It felt really dark. I felt like I was always chasing something. I felt like I was always, you know, spending so much time in relationships that weren't healthy, they weren't thriving, they weren't inspiring necessarily. And chasing myself in the relationship that I was in, and always feeling a sense of loneliness. I wasn't really connected to my partner at that time. I mean, he was an alcoholic. I spent a lot of my time watching him drink and didn't know any better. Always feeling, I was really sad and felt a lot of pain, just not being connected to anything really. Yeah.
And then something really crazy happened to you after this.
Yeah. Enough time had passed of living this life of just going to work and going to school and feeling all of this anxiety and probably a sense of depression in a way.
Yeah, and probably distracting yourself with alcohol and partying.
Totally. And I started getting pain in my stomach, really, really bad at work. And my mom ended up taking me to the clinic. And I thought it was just a little bladder infection. You know, we got the prescription. I ended up at Blockbuster to rent a movie, thought I'd chill out for the night. And then I blacked out. I literally fell to the ground in front of my mom, and she obviously was scared and freaked out, and the ambulance came to get me. And when I got to the hospital, they did an ultrasound to figure out where this blood was coming from, because they had figured out I was bleeding internally. And they said, okay, well, we'll put a couple probes in you. It's a minor surgery. If we can figure out where that comes from, we'll go from there. Otherwise, we'll do surgery.
Right.
You know, I was young. You don't really know anything. You just know you're scared and you want to get better. And so I signed this form, and I wake up the next day in the most excruciating pain of my life by myself. I remember wailing because it hurt so bad. And I didn't actually realize what had happened. I just knew, I think it was like the second day after, when the doctor came in and pulled the bandage off, and I looked down to my stomach and I had 25 staples going down my stomach, that I realized this is big. This is really big.
Just a minor surgery.
Yeah. And so what they did was they drained the blood out, and then I had a blood transfusion of 1.5 liters put back into me. I was on morphine. I was hunched over for so long because all of your muscles are scrunched together, and I had to basically teach myself how to breathe and sit upright again. And so that's how I spent my time in the hospital. And there was so much silence. I think for once in my life, it caused me to just be still. And so I think that the emotional pain I felt, I had nowhere to put it. I didn't talk to anybody about what I was going through. I was struggling a lot by myself, and the disconnect just kept getting bigger and bigger until I ended up manifested physically.
Yeah, that's crazy that it manifested in your body.
Yeah, and we'll feel stuff, right? We'll feel pain and disease.
But we ignore the signs, right?
Totally.
And like, I'm sure leading up to that, maybe your body was telling you a lot of things, but you're just like, oh, it's fine.
I think so.
I'll just have another drink or something, you know? Like,
I ignored all of it. I was like, I'll be fine. It's okay. It's just something little.
Yeah.
And carrying on through my days, just like normal.
Yeah, definitely.
Until you crumble. I literally crumbled.
It's almost like you needed that wake-up call, right?
Oh, it was a huge wake-up call. And then what happened was I ended up having so much stillness and so much silence in the hospital that this big voice started coming through. And the big voice was like, Lisa, you need to paint.
Yeah, this is the crazy part.
And I was like, what? Who's talking to me? I need to paint. Like, okay. So I ended up asking my mom for paint supplies. I said, I don't know why. I just feel like I need help and I need to get some paint supplies. So that was my first set of...
beginning of your art journey.
Yeah, totally.
And how did making art make you feel after that? Like, what was it like for you?
Ooh, it was just so powerful. It was so powerful that I ended up going back to school the following year to take fine arts, because I thought, if I have to go to school, this is what my parents and what I feel like I should be doing is going to school, and I'm grateful for it now more than ever. Then the only thing that made sense to me was doing art. And I didn't know what I was doing, and it's okay. I just knew that that's something that felt so right in my heart.
And it felt good for you to express yourself in that way.
Yeah, and I wasn't really concerned about grades. You know, looking back, I was more concerned about just learning. Learning and getting curious and being excited. It was something that really excited me. For the first time in a long time, that was something that felt right.
So how do you think art making has healed you?
So art making, I feel like it has helped me to stay connected to my own heart. It gives me my own answers. I think it's easy in society to look outside of yourself for answers, you know, like, I mean, I do it.
External validation, or like...
asking other people, what do you think? Or looking, you know, maybe to like my yoga teachers that maybe they know something more than I do for myself. And ultimately art takes me back to me, and that I am my own teacher. And that doesn't take away from teachers in my life at all. I'm super grateful for that. I think in aligning myself to who I am, only I have those answers. And so every time I make art, it's like this beautiful conversation where I get to actually hear that big voice I heard in the hospital. That big voice is now just a part of my everyday life. And every time I paint, I get to channel this voice and have this amazing conversation to go deeper with myself. And it's my intuition.
And have it reflected back at you.
100%.
In a physical form.
And I trust myself more. My courage keeps building. My confidence keeps building every time I go back to the canvas. And it reflects in my life. So I think that art or that canvas is like a battlefield in a way, but a good battlefield. It's a chance for me to work on so many parts of myself, to express myself and let go of my emotions, like, you know, a safe space to create. And then when I go into my life, I feel like a different person. You know, or maybe my paintings lately have taught me patience, and then I take that patience into my life and it transforms my relationships with people. It's like everyday kind of healing.
So if you could give like a piece of advice to anyone right now that is struggling and needs an outlet of expression, is wanting to try art, what would you tell them?
I would say it's okay to be scared and not know. I think that's normal. I think there's so many resources out there now. You know, reach out to someone and say, I don't know how to do this, but maybe you could help me. Or maybe taking a course online, where if you might feel more comfortable by yourself at home and doing that on your own, it's okay. But whatever it is, there's something stirring inside of us. And that I know for sure. We all have something.
There's something
we all have
that
something.
wants to come out. It's like we all have stories that need to be like told.
Yeah, and I still have that in other ways. Like we talk about this all the time about singing.
Yeah.
The singing stirs us up, but we're both scared. And so if you're not scared of one thing, it's going to be something else. And so for me, my piece of advice is start somewhere. Start somewhere that makes you feel a little bit excited. And if you don't know, it's okay. My first painting ever was in college. I had no clue what I was doing. It's kind of it's like embarrassing to think about that first painting, but it's like you got to start somewhere. And so if it means, you know, getting your hands dirty like you were when you were a kid and just playing and feeling what paint does and seeing what the colors do and letting go of what it needs to look like, I think that is like that you're already breaking through so much.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. This is just the beginning of her story, really, and of our story. There's so much more that we want to share, you know? Yeah, and I guess you're gonna have to wait till next time because there's a lot more.
There's so much.
There's so much. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm back every week with art therapy activities, creativity with special guests. And also, if you're interested in diving deeper into the therapeutic art process, I offer one-on-one online sessions where I can guide you through your journey of healing and self-discovery and self-expression. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you feel called. And in the meantime, we are both sending you a lot of love and we'll see you all soon.